Good afternoon. Welcome back to Passion World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain, mindfulness. And on today's Historical Lest We Forget, we are starting a series on the U.S. Constitution. And today the episode will be dedicated to the backstory. How did it happen? And it comes from the National Archives, America's founding documents. So how did it get going? Well, after the Revolutionary War, around 1787, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and George Washington feared that our country was on the brink of collapse. And the first constitution we had already created was called the Articles of Confederation, which gave the Confederation Congress the power to make rules and request funds from the states, but it had no enforcement powers. They couldn't regulate commerce or even print money. And then you had the different states who disputed over land, war pensions for those who fought in the Revolution, taxation, did they want more repeats of the Tea Party, and trade, did they still want to trade with England and France or even Spain, which threatened to tear our country apart. Alexander Hamilton convinced Congress to organize a grand convention of state delegates to work on revising the Articles of Confederation. This constitutional convention assembled in Philadelphia in May of 1787. And like before, they shuttered the windows of the State House and swore secrecy so they could speak freely. Although they had gathered to revise the Articles of Confederation, by mid-June, they decided to redesign the government. There was little agreement about what form, though, it would take. One of the fiercest arguments was over congressional representation. Should it be based on population or divided equally among the states? The framers compromised. Each side gave in by giving each state one representative for every 30,000 people in the House of Representatives and 2 representatives in the Senate. They agreed to count enslaved, those are the Africans who were bought and sold on the open market, as 3/5 of a person. Slavery was a thorny question, and it threatened to derail the Union. It was only temporarily resolved when the delegates agreed that the slave trade could continue until 1808. After 3 hot summer months of equal heated debate among the delegates, they appointed a committee of detail to put its decisions in writing. Near the end of the convention, a committee of style and arrangement put it into its final form, condensing 23 articles into 7 less than 4 days. So, on September 17, 1787, 38 delegates signed the Constitution. George Read signed for John Dickinson of Delaware, who was absent, bringing the total number of signatures to 39. It was considered an extraordinary achievement. Tasked with revising the existing government, the delegates came up with a completely new one. Because they were wary about centralized power and loyal to states, they created a powerful central government representing wildly different interests and views, and they used compromises. It stands today as one of the longest lived and most emulated constitutions in the world. So don't be so easy to give up what it says inside of this document. Ratification. It's not legal yet, folks. They have to ratify it. The founders set the terms for ratifying the Constitution. They bypassed the state legislatures, reasoning that their members would be reluctant to give up power to a national government. Instead, they called for special ratification conventions in each state. Ratification by 9 of the 13 states enacted the new government. But at the time, only 6 of the 13 states reported a pro-Constitution majority. The Federalists believed that a strong central government needed to convert at least 3 states. The anti-Federalists fought hard against the Constitution because it created a powerful central government that reminded them of the one they had just overthrown, England. And it lacked a Bill of Rights. The ratification campaign made you bite your nails. You didn't know which way it was going to go. The tide turned in Massachusetts, where the vote compromise helped secure victory in that state and eventually in the final holdouts. So let's do a little bit of back history. What is the meaning of the Constitution? The Constitution of the United States contains a preamble and 7 articles that describe the way our government is structured and how it operates. The first 3 articles establish the 3 branches of government and their powers: legislative, which is our Congress; executive, which is office of the president; and judicial, which is the federal court system. There's a system of checks and balances which prevent any one of these separate powers from becoming dominant. Articles 4 through 7 describe the relationship of the states to the federal government, establish the Constitution as the supreme law of our land, and define the amendment and ratification process. There are 7 articles. The first one assigns the responsibility for making laws to Congress. Congress is divided into 2 parts, or houses: the House of Representatives and the Senate. The bicameral Congress was a compromise between the large states, which wanted representation based on population, and the small ones, which wanted the states to have equal representation. Article 2, it details the executive branch, the presidency, and the offices of the president and vice president. It lays down the rules for electing the president through the Electoral College. Eligibility must be a natural-born citizen at least 35 years old, and term length. The 12th and 25th Amendments modify, that means change it, some of these rules. And we will stop and go on to Article 3 next Friday. So be sure to tune in, because we're going through the whole enchilada, so you understand exactly what rights this current administration is trying to do to your freedoms, and for what our forefathers bled and fought for, lost fortunes, wives, children, property. So think about it very carefully. Thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of Historical Lest We Forget, the backstory of the U.S. Constitution. and Bill of Rights. This program is brought to you by Conscious Research Solutions. You can find us at passionalworldtalkradio.com/research made simple blog. There on the page, you can read all the pain points that are associated with research and the answers. Interested in doing your own research or having somebody help you out, go over to passionalworldtalkradio.com/research made simple blog and sign up for a free 15-minute consultation. Also, if you would like to keep this talk radio station online, please consider donating. $5 would be great. passionalworldtalkradio.com/donations. Get the truth, the whole truth, and so help me buy a piece of toilet paper for all the truth that you need to hear, amidst all the other flapping of the lips that are done today, tomorrow, and the future. Thank you very much for listening, and have an awesome weekend.